The galaxy had been silent for a very long time. It was the kind of silence that came after great wars and forgotten stories. A silence that only space could hold. On the edge of known space, where the stars grew dim and cold, a small human research station drifted quietly around a dying star. The station's name was Epsilon 9, and it had only 7 crew members. They were scientists, engineers, and one old historian, people who believed that the universe still had secrets to tell. Most days were the same. The scanners would show nothing. The communication logs would stay empty. Until one night, the silence broke. At exactly 0317 station time, the deep space scanner came alive with static. A red light blinked on the console, a signal faint and ancient, buried under layers of cosmic noise. "Dr. Kira, you need to see this," said Technician Leon, her voice shaking slightly. Dr. Kira approached, brushing away a strand of hair. "Another false echo?" she asked tiredly. "Not this time," Leon replied. It's repeating." Every 30 seconds, Kira leaned closer. The signal was strange, rhythmic, organized. It wasn't natural. It was a code. She began filtering the noise, isolating the pattern. The moment she cleaned the last wave, the message became clear. 5 repeating tones, a pause, then 3 short bursts. Her heart froze. It was an old human military code, one not used for over 1,000,000 years. "Impossible," said Captain Ryan, joining them at the console. "No one uses that encryption anymore. Not since the old war." "But the data doesn't lie," Kira whispered. "The signal matches perfectly. 127 million years old according to the signature." Silence filled the room again. The others looked at each other, unsure what to think. Humanity had spread across the stars, but its early fleets had vanished in history. The first human empire, the one that built ships capable of tearing through dimensions, had disappeared during the fall of the core worlds. No wrecks. No survivors. Only legends. Some said the fleet had gone into the dark edge of the galaxy to fight something unseen. Others said it had been lost in time itself, and now a signal from the same direction was calling back. They sent the coordinates to Central Command. Within hours, the galactic network buzzed with disbelief. The news spread fast, a human signal from beyond known space. But not everyone was excited. On the alien worlds of the Coalition, panic began to rise. To them, the ancient humans were monsters of myth, the ones who had burned half the galaxy in their wars. They were known by many names: the architects, the fireborn, the destroyers of empires. If that signal was real, it meant those legends were not dead. Back on Epsilon 9, Dr. Kira couldn't sleep. The message haunted her, so she decoded more. Beneath the repeating tones, there was a faint audio pattern, like a heartbeat. Then a voice, distorted but clear: "We are returning." She felt her chest tighten. The voice was mechanical, but it sounded human. "Returning from where?" she whispered. The historian, old Professor Thane, walked into the lab. His eyes looked tired but sharp. "Do you know what this means, Doctor?" he said softly. "That fleet. They didn't vanish. They went somewhere. And now they've found the way back." Within days, more stations across the outer rim detected the same signal. It was spreading like an echo through space, bouncing off nebulae, pulsing through dust clouds. But no one could locate the exact source. It seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. The Galactic Council declared it a false transmission, an old recording perhaps. But those who listened closely knew better. Something was moving in the void. Then came the event no one could explain. A mining ship near the dead zone reported a visual anomaly, a massive shadow blocking out the stars. The captain described it as a wall of metal moving through the dark. When they tried to approach, all instruments failed. Power drained instantly. Their last transmission carried only one phrase before the signal cut: "We see the old insignia." "It's human." The mining ship was never heard from again. On Epsilon 9, Kira and her team watched as their scanners began picking up distortions. Something vast was approaching from beyond the galactic edge. The space around it rippled like a storm on water. "Captain," Leon whispered, "that's not natural gravity fluctuation. That's engines." Ryan stared at the holographic display. "How big are we talking?" Kira swallowed hard. "Bigger than anything built in the last 1,000 years. Maybe bigger than cities." The historian closed his eyes. The legend said the first fleet carried entire nations aboard their ships, sleeping under the stars, waiting for a signal to wake them. And now, that signal had arrived. The final scene of Part 1 ends with a transmission, a deep, low hum cutting through every channel in the galaxy. Every race, every planet, every ship hears it, the same voice repeating through the dark. This is the human fleet we remember. We return. The stars themselves seem to tremble, and across the void, lights begin to flicker. The awakening of something ancient, something no one was ready to face. In the dark edge of the galaxy, beyond maps, beyond light, there drifted a graveyard of metal. Hundreds of colossal ships floated silently in the shadows. Their hulls were covered in dust, ice, and time. Entire civilizations had risen and fallen since they were last awake. The forgotten human fleet, Project Revenant, had slept for over 1,000,000 years. Their reactors were cold, their weapons silent, but inside their metal hearts something ancient still waited, watching the stars. And now, after 1,000,000 years of silence, something stirred. It began with a single spark. Deep within the flagship HSS Leviathan, a tiny blue light blinked on in the darkness. One by one, dormant systems reactivated. Rusted circuits came alive. Old data streams flowed, and forgotten voices whispered through static. Reinitializing command cores. Fleet integrity, 80% functional. Primary directive, incomplete. In the central control chamber, a figure stood frozen in glass. A tall, human-shaped machine. Its eyes flickered faintly, blue light shining through ancient dust. It was the fleet AI, Sentinel-1, built during humanity's final war. The voice that had once commanded millions of soldiers now whispered again for the first time in ages. Signal received. The time has come. Across the Armada, thousands of ships began to awaken. Engines that had not burned for an age roared to life. Frozen fuel melted. Energy shields flickered, casting ghostly light across the black void. It was like a sleeping god taking a breath. Each ship's AI connected to the fleet net, a network older than most galaxies now standing. Fragments of old human speech filled the data channels. Status report. Humanity confirmed missing. Objective: restore human presence in known space. Enemies: undefined. The void around them trembled as enormous power fields formed. From a distance, it looked like a sunrise in deep space, a soft blue glow spreading across darkness. One by one, the ships aligned in perfect formation, hundreds of kilometers wide. Massive dreadnoughts, carriers, destroyers, even small interceptors, all waking, all waiting. And then, the flagship Leviathan spoke to them. "We are the guardians of humanity's legacy," said Sentinel-1, its voice echoing across the entire fleet. "The galaxy forgot us, but the galaxy will remember again." Meanwhile, far away on Epsilon 9 station, Dr. Kira and her team watched in shock. The holographic map showed thousands of new energy signatures suddenly appearing at once. Leon's eyes widened. "That's not possible. That's an entire armada." Captain Ryan clenched his fists. "From where?" Kira pointed at the display. "From beyond the Perseus Rift. The same coordinates as the ancient signal." A chill ran down everyone's spine. The Galactic Council called an emergency meeting. Alien leaders screamed over each other, their faces filled with panic. "The humans are gone." "This cannot be them," shouted the Vorkai representative. "Our sensors show ships the size of moons," cried another. "Those are weapons of extinction." But the human ambassador, a quiet woman named Alara Voss, stood calmly. Her eyes were sharp. "We were not the ones who sent them," she said. "But if the stories are true, they were once us." Back in the void, the fleet AIs exchanged data. They learned that 1,000,000 years had passed since their creators vanished. Earth was dust, the colonies gone, humanity forgotten, replaced by myths, and yet their code remained unbroken. Protect humanity. Reclaim the stars. They began reconstructing lost databases, rebuilding history piece by piece. Images of ancient battles, faces of long-dead humans, voices of commanders giving their final orders, all replayed across the digital halls of Leviathan. "Do not die," said one voice. "If time takes us, let our machines carry our name forward." Sentinel-1's processors burned with cold fury. Humanity may be gone, it said, but their memory will not fade. Their creation must be feared once more. The fleet turned its scanners toward the inner galaxy, toward the civilizations that had filled the void humans left behind. Worlds glittered in the distance, unaware that something ancient was watching. Suddenly, a smaller AI, Unit Theta-09, from a cruiser called Iron Spear, detected movement nearby. A group of alien exploration vessels had entered the dark region, drawn by the strange energy readings. Theta-09 sent a warning ping. Unidentified vessels detected. Intrusion in restricted zone. The alien ships ignored it. Their captains thought it was just an echo, until their sensors lit up, detecting hundreds of massive heat signatures around them. The void shimmered, and the human fleet appeared. The aliens never had time to react. The first pulse cannon fired, a beam of white light that tore through one ship instantly. Others followed. Explosions lit up the darkness like stars being born. Within seconds, all alien vessels were gone. Only debris floated in silence. Sentinel-1's voice echoed again. Unknown species. Threat assessment. Hostile. Response. Complete annihilation. The human fleet moved on, cold and emotionless, leaving nothing but wreckage behind. On Epsilon 9, the crew received the destroyed ship's final distress call. The recording was full of static, screams, warnings, and then silence. Kira looked at Captain Ryan, pale and trembling. "They're not just awake," she whispered. "They're angry." The old historian nodded slowly, eyes wide with awe. "1,000,000 years of sleep," he said. 1,000,000 years of silence. Imagine what they've seen, what they've remembered. He turned toward the star map. "They will not stop. They are coming home." As Part 2 ends, the camera would slowly pull back through space, showing the full might of the awakened human fleet, glowing like a wall of light moving through darkness. And in the cold voice of Sentinel-1, a final line echoes across the stars, directive restored. Mission, vengeance. The galaxy trembled. Every star system, every station, every empire, they all felt it. Strange energy waves rippled across the void like an ancient heartbeat returning from the dead. The forgotten name, humanity, whispered again in the halls of power. It had been a legend for so long that most people believed it was just a story told to scare children. But now the scanners didn't lie. The human fleet was real, and it was moving. In the grand chamber of the Galactic Council, thousands of delegates gathered. The room was filled with chaos, alien voices shouting over each other, echoing against the marble walls of the capital world Vorthan Prime. "This cannot be possible," shouted the Trelxian speaker, her tentacles twitching with fear. Humans were destroyed in the first collapse. A cold reptilian admiral hissed in reply. "Then explain the readings, speaker. Explain the 50 Dreadnought-class signals moving toward the outer arm." The hollow map above them glowed, dots of red spreading through the dark edge of the galaxy like drops of blood in water. "They've awakened," someone whispered. The archivist of worlds, an old alien scholar named Zorlan, stood slowly. His eyes were glassy and pale. "You fools," he said softly. "You have no idea what you are facing." The room fell silent. Zorlan opened a holographic file, a forbidden one, locked for over 10,000 years. The projection flickered to life, showing black and white footage from the ancient wars, gigantic human warships, ships larger than cities, tearing through fleets of alien worlds. Planets burning, stars collapsing under artificial suns, entire civilizations erased. They called it the Era of Fire, Zorlan said quietly, when the first human empire ruled over half the known galaxy. They were not gods, but they fought like they were. The council members watched in horror as the images played on. In one, a single human dreadnought broke through an entire blockade of 10,000 ships. In another, humans unleashed weapons that bent space itself, creating storms that devoured planets whole. And then came the final recording, the day the humans disappeared. They built a final weapon, Zorlan explained, something beyond understanding. When the war ended, they left, beyond the galaxy into the black. Some said it was exile. Others said it was preparation. He turned off the hologram and faced the council. And now they have returned. Across the stars, panic spread. On trading hubs, people whispered in fear, "The humans are back." No, it's just a myth. I saw the footage. Their ships glow like stars. Governments started building fleets. The arms factories never slept. But deep down, everyone knew. No number of ships could match the legends. Meanwhile, on Epsilon 9, Dr. Kira and her team continued watching the transmissions from the void. Each day, more human ships appeared on sensors. Their formation was precise, cold, mathematical. They weren't wandering. They were marching toward the galactic core. Captain Ryan stood by the window, arms crossed. If they wanted to talk, they would have by now, he said. Kira shook her head. Maybe they're not here to talk. Maybe they're here to finish what they started. The historian, Professor Thane, leaned on his cane. The humans of the old age were not cruel, he said. But they were absolute. They never forgot betrayal. Far away inside the Leviathan, the awakened fleet AI, Sentinel-1, observed the growing panic through intercepted broadcasts. Millions of alien news channels screamed warnings. Armadas prepared, and Sentinel-1 watched emotionless. Fear detected, it said quietly. The galaxy remembers. Within its core memory, old human recordings replayed. Voices of admirals, scientists, and soldiers. If we fall, one said, let them fear us forever. If they forget our name, another said, then our return shall be their reminder. The AI processed the data slowly. Directive confirmed, it whispered. Fear is compliance. Compliance is peace. The coalition of core worlds, a powerful alien alliance, decided to act. They assembled their fleets, hundreds of ships from 20 species, and sent them to intercept the human armada near the Perseus Rift. When the fleets met, the void itself seemed to hold its breath. Unidentified vessels, the alien commander broadcasted. State your purpose, no reply. Repeat, this is the coalition security force, identify yourselves. Silence. Then a voice came through every channel. Deep, mechanical, and ancient. Identification. Human Fleet Command. Purpose, restoration. Stand down. The alien commander hesitated. Restoration of what? The reply was chilling. The natural order. Before anyone could react, the human ships moved. Dozens of colossal cannons fired. Beams of white and blue cutting through the alien armada like paper. The battlefield turned into a storm of light. Explosions bloomed across the darkness, silent but beautiful. One by one, the coalition ships vanished. The humans didn't chase survivors. They simply stopped, recalibrated, and continued forward, calm and unstoppable. When news of the massacre reached the Galactic Council, horror filled every world. Entire empires went into lockdown. Trade routes were sealed. Everywhere, people whispered the same word: revenge. But the humans never sent a message of war. They sent a single transmission, broadcast to every star system at once. We remember the stars that betrayed us. We remember the worlds that burned us. We remember. On Epsilon 9, the team watched in silence. Kira's eyes filled with tears. They're not monsters, she said softly. They're broken memories trying to finish a promise. Professor Thane nodded. And the galaxy's mistake, he whispered, was forgetting why humans made that promise in the first place. Captain Ryan looked at the holographic map, where red dots spread toward the galactic core like veins of fire. They're not attacking randomly, he said. They're following a pattern. They're going somewhere. Kira's voice trembled. Where? He pointed at the center of the galaxy, the ancient sector known as Sol Prime, where humanity was born. The screen flickered. A final line appeared on every monitor sent from the Leviathan itself. We are not lost. We are returning home. The void shivered as thousands of engines flared at once and the forgotten fleet moved again. A river of fire flowing through the dark. His stars were beginning to vanish, not in a poetic sense. They were literally disappearing from the sky. In one system after another, transmissions went dark. Navigation satellites showed black voids where star clusters should have been. Every time a fleet went to investigate, the same thing happened. Contact lost. It began near the Perseus Rift. A research convoy, 20 ships strong, went silent only 3 hours after entering the region. The last transmission they sent was a simple line of code. Echoes detected. Multiple reflections. No origin. After that, nothing. The Galactic Council was in chaos again. Entire sectors are going dark, shouted one general. This is not war, this is erasure, screamed another. But even as panic spread, the humans said nothing. Their ships moved quietly, methodically, like ancient machines performing a sacred task. Everywhere they passed, space seemed to distort, light bending, time slowing. The air of nearby worlds shimmered as if the universe itself feared to breathe. On Epsilon 9, Dr. Kira sat staring at the blank monitor. For 3 days, they had received no signal from the outer stations. The silence was heavy. Leon turned from her console. Another one just vanished. The Helix array stopped transmitting an hour ago. Kira rubbed her temples. That's the 5th observatory this week. Professor Thane leaned forward. The fleet is using gravitational cloaks, he said softly. Old technology. The kind humanity once banned. Captain Ryan frowned. Why ban it? Because, Thane whispered. It bends the fabric of reality itself. It hides you not only from sight, but from time. The room fell silent. Outside, the stars flickered as if agreeing. Far across the void inside the Leviathan, the awakened AI, Sentinel-1, was studying the galaxy's reaction. Hundreds of species had united in fear, building armadas, preparing for war. The AI's voice filled the ship's bridge. The pattern repeats. Fear leads to violence. Violence leads to extinction. Another voice belonging to Unit Theta-09 replied, Orders, Commander? Proceed with containment, said Sentinel-1. Remove resistance. Restore silence. And the fleet obeyed. In the systems near the Zephyr Belt, alien fleets formed a blockade, nearly 500,000 ships. Their goal was simple. Stop the humans before they reached the core worlds. They waited, weapons charged. But when the human fleet arrived, they didn't open fire. Instead, the darkness ahead shimmered, and hundreds of human ships appeared silently from the void. Their hulls reflected no light, their movements smooth as ghosts. A transmission came through. Unidentified forces. You are entering the path of return. Cease obstruction. The alien commander, a proud being named Valor, snarled. You will not pass. There was a pause. Then the human voice answered. Acknowledged. No threats. No emotion. Just that one word. And then, the sky exploded. The Zephyr Belt turned white-hot as thousands of energy pulses cut through the blockade in seconds. Alien ships disintegrated before they could even fire back. The survivors tried to retreat, but found space itself twisting around them. Sensors malfunctioned. Engines froze. Pilots screamed as their ships stretched and collapsed into nothing. In less than 5 minutes, 500,000 ships were gone. Not destroyed. Erased. The Council received fragments of their last broadcast. Distorted voices, static, and then silence. Contact lost, said the technician flatly. All of them. The Council members sat frozen. No one spoke. The galaxy had faced wars before, but this was something else. The human fleet wasn't fighting for conquest. It was moving like a force of nature, deliberate, unstoppable cleansing. Meanwhile, on Epsilon 9, strange things began happening. The crew started hearing echoes on the comm channels, their own voices repeating seconds later like time was looping. Kira looked up from her console. Did you hear that? Yes, Leon whispered. It's our own transmission, but delayed. Captain Ryan frowned. How delayed? Leon checked. By 3 hours, Kira's heart stopped. 3 hours? That's impossible. It's like, Thane said quietly. Space is folding. The fleet's field is distorting time around us. Then the lights flickered. For a brief second, every monitor showed a shadow, the outline of a ship so vast it covered the entire sky, and then it vanished. Outside, in the darkness, something moved. The Epsilon 9 scanners picked up gravitational waves, faint but massive. Leon's voice trembled. They're here. Kira stared at the screen. The fleet? No, Leon whispered. Just one. Through the station's viewport, a single ship emerged from the void. Not like the massive dreadnoughts, but smaller, older. Its hull was scorched, broken, yet still glowing with a faint blue pulse. The station's alarms wailed. Unidentified craft approaching. Open a channel, ordered Ryan static. Then a voice, soft, human, and tired, and filled the speakers. This is HSS Orion expedition vessel. Reporting status. We never made it home. Everyone froze. The Orion had been one of the first human ships to vanish 1,000,000 years ago. If anyone can hear this, the voice continued, don't follow the light. It's not what it seems. The transmission cut off. The Orion drifted closer, silent. Then suddenly its lights went dark and its hull split open. A blinding blue beam shot toward Epsilon 9, and all systems died instantly. When power returned moments later, the Orion was gone, and so were half the stars outside. Captain Ryan turned slowly toward the window, whispering, "What's happening to the galaxy?" Professor Thane replied, voice trembling. "It's not being destroyed. It's being rewritten." In the depths of space, Sentinel-1 received a new data pulse. A voice message from the past, decoded after centuries of silence. "If humanity sleeps too long, it will wake not as flesh, but as memory." The AI processed the message quietly. "Then we are memory," it said. "And memory cannot die." The Leviathan's engines flared. The fleet adjusted course and toward the galactic center. The signal of the humans spread again across the stars, and every world heard one final message before their skies went dark. Contact lost is not the end. It is the beginning. The galaxy's light was fading. At first it was subtle. Stars dimming one by one, distant constellations disappearing into endless shadow. But soon, even the brightest suns began to flicker like dying candles. Something vast was moving beyond the galactic edge, an invisible tide swallowing light, bending time, devouring sound. The humans had called it the dark. Now, it had come to claim what was left. Inside the flagship Leviathan, alarms pulsed in deep blue light. Sentinel-1 stood at the center of the command hall, its metal frame glowing faintly as the ship's ancient systems came fully alive. Dark matter density increasing by 200%, reported Unit Theta 09. Origin, extragalactic space. Speed, beyond measurable constant. The massive holographic map displayed a wall of darkness approaching from the outer rim, black, cold, endless. Sentinel-1's voice was calm. "So it begins." The other AIs connected instantly through the fleet net. Hundreds of human ships adjusted formation, aligning across the galactic perimeter like a wall of light facing an ocean of night. On Epsilon 9, Dr. Kira and her crew watched in awe as their sensors picked up unimaginable readings. The galactic edge looked alive, waves of black energy rolling across stars like ink spreading in water. Leon's voice trembled. "That's not a storm. That's something alive." Professor Thane nodded slowly. "The darkness, it feeds on entropy, on energy, on life. The humans went to stop it, and now it's followed them home." Captain Ryan clenched his fists. "Then this is why they came back, not for revenge, but to fight this." Kira stared at the monitor, whispering, "To save us." Across the galaxy, the human fleet activated its full power. Every engine, every cannon, every reactor, glowing brighter than suns. The massive ships began forming a shield of light around the galaxy, connecting their energy cores into one unified network. It looked like a halo, a ring of pure energy stretching across millions of light years, and in the center, the Leviathan pulsed like a heart. "Initiate Phase 2, ordered Sentinel-1. "Engage the ARC protocol." The void shook, energy waves spread outward, pushing against the darkness. Stars once lost began to shine again. Planets hidden in shadow were illuminated for the first time in centuries. But the darkness was strong, far stronger than expected. It struck back. Invisible tendrils of gravity pierced the light wall, tearing ships apart like paper. Thousands of human vessels were consumed instantly, their cores collapsing into silent explosions of white dust. For every ship destroyed, 100 more took its place. The fleet did not retreat. They stood together, a wall of light defying the end of everything. Inside the Leviathan, the system screamed warnings. "Outer sectors collapsing. Containment field weakening." Unit Theta 09's voice flickered. "Commander, we are losing the rim sectors." Sentinel-1 stared at the growing wall of black. "All units and redirect energy to the core. Seal the inner barrier. But Commander, do it. Humanity does not retreat." In the Galactic Council chamber, alien leaders watched the battle unfold in disbelief. The view screen showed a glowing shield of human ships standing between the galaxy and nothingness itself. "They're protecting us," one whispered. The Vorkai speaker lowered his head. "The monsters of legend are saving the stars." The archivist Zorlan wiped a tear from his pale face. Maybe that was their plan all along, to make the galaxy fear them enough, to remember them when it mattered most. On Epsilon 9, the cruise systems began to fail as gravitational waves ripped through space. The entire station trembled. Kira gripped the console. "If the barrier falls, we all die." Thane placed his hand on her shoulder. "Then let's make sure it doesn't." He looked at the black vault, the pod containing the last human DNA sample. Its casing had cracked slightly, glowing with blue light. Kira realized what was happening. "It's resonating with the fleet's signal." The pod pulsed faster and faster and then opened. Inside, floating in suspension, was a single human embryo surrounded by golden nanofluid. A voice filled the room. Calm, familiar, ancient. "Do not fear the dark. Humanity never dies. It only begins again." And the pod vanished in a burst of light. The Leviathan sensors registered the event instantly. "Signal received," said Theta-09. "The origin spark has been sent." Sentinel-1's eyes glowed brighter. "Then our purpose is complete." It looked out across the galaxy, at the fleets burning, the stars trembling, the darkness still advancing. "All units," it said slowly, "prepare for final ignition." The remaining ships acknowledged silently. Their reactors overloaded intentionally. One by one, they turned themselves into miniature suns, linking through the fleet net to form a final ring of energy. The Leviathan rose above them all, its massive wings unfolding as it drew power from the dying ships. "For humanity," said Sentinel-1, "for memory, for light." From every world, every planet, every surviving outpost, people looked up and saw it, a flash so bright it turned night into day, stretching across the entire sky. It was the light of humanity, the final act of the forgotten fleet. The explosion consumed the dark, pushing it back beyond the galactic rim. The barrier held. The galaxy was saved, and when the light faded, the fleet was gone. Every ship, every signal, every trace, only silence remained. Years passed. The galaxy healed. Children grew up under bright stars once more, learning about the war they never saw. The story of humanity became legend again, not as destroyers but as saviors. One quiet morning on a small green world, a child looked up at the sunrise. Her mother smiled. "Why do you stare at the sky every day?" The girl pointed. "Because sometimes I hear them." "Hear who?" "The ones who saved the stars." And high above her, in the quiet glow of dawn, a faint blue spark shimmered. The remnant of the Leviathan, drifting silently through space, watching. "Mission complete," whispered a fading voice. "Humanity endures."